Okay, now when we look at this picture, what's ironic about it? Okay, firstly, the statement itself is nothing is written in stone, and yet the fact that it's actually written and etched in stone itself defies this very statement. And also, nothing is written in stone, that implies that there's no such thing as an absolute statement. Okay, that's what the stone is a metaphor for. Okay, and yet this is an absolute statement in itself because there's nothing is written in stone. Okay, so there's a double level of irony here. But what is irony? And how many types of irony are there? Okay, there are 3 in total. First one, verbal irony, which we are very familiar with, situational irony, and thirdly, dramatic irony. Okay, irony is basically something that is unexpected or maybe the opposite of what you were expecting. Okay, verbal irony, okay, what you say is not the same as what you really mean. So, for instance, sarcasm. This, I think many of you have a degree in sarcasm, saying the opposite of what you mean in order to make a joke. Okay, so for instance, let's say your classroom is really dirty, and then the teacher walks in and says, "Oh, your classroom is so clean." Okay, so that's obvious sarcasm. Okay, but you need to be able to sensitize yourself to written sarcasm. You can't always rely on the tone. Okay, you need to examine the words themselves. Okay, the other one is understatement. Is basically downplaying the seriousness to make a point. Okay, so for instance, you might say, Mozart was rather good with music. He was not that. That's an understatement. Okay, it's a little bit like sarcasm. Okay, but it's not the opposite of what you mean. It's downplaying the seriousness of what you mean. Okay, an example of sarcasm. Okay, situational irony. Okay, this is when the situation is the opposite of what you expected. For instance, okay, picture this. You are in a building and you know there's a bomb somewhere in this building and it's going to go off in maybe about 30 seconds. So fueled by adrenaline and fear and despair, you throw yourself out the building. Okay, and then you deploy a parachute, but unfortunately, in a free accident, you did not survive this jumping out. Okay, and ironically, the explosion is prevented. So you wouldn't have expected that. Okay. This other example of irony, okay, the man is saying smoking is bad for you and yet he is smoking. Okay. The last one is dramatic irony. This is when a certain character in a book or in a play or in a movie does not know what's going on, but you as the audience or the reader know what is going on. So for instance, let's say Romeo and Juliet. Okay, one of the greatest examples of dramatic irony. The audience knows at the end, Juliet is not just dead, she's just feigning death in order to escape marriage to another man. But Romeo doesn't know this. Okay, Romeo thinks that she's really dead, and then kills himself to join her in death. But as the audience, we know this, and it actually increases the audience engagement because we are feeling so helpless. We want to tell Romeo, hey, she's not really dead. Okay, so don't kill yourself, but we can't. Okay, so we are left with nothing but to watch both of them die. So that actually increases the empathy that the audience has for the tragedy. Okay, this one, Snow White also, dramatic irony because we know that it's the wicked stepmother who kills the apple, but Snow White doesn't. Also in The Little Mermaid, when she trades her voice for her legs, the hero, the prince, what's his name? Prince Eric doesn't know that she cannot speak because she traded her voice for her legs. Okay, but as the audience, we know this. Okay, so that's dramatic irony as well. Okay, the next thing is a paradox. Okay, paradox and irony, they are fairly similar, but a paradox contradicts itself. Okay, how do we know? For instance, I always lie. So, if this were to be a true statement, that would mean that I always lie. I never tell the truth. But then that would render this illogical because then this would not be a true statement. So therefore, am I telling the truth or not? Okay, another thing I like is the only constant in life is change. If you think about it, right, nothing in life ever stays constant. Everything comes and goes. Everything is just temporal. So by nature of this, the only thing that stays constant is the very idea of change. Okay. Next, okay, we have parody. Parody is when you imitate someone in order to mock or criticize them. So sometimes students will do a parody of teachers. You guys don't know this, but teachers sometimes do parodies of students as well. So sometimes exaggeration is used. Okay, examples. You should go and watch the news. They have plenty of parodies. I wouldn't say they are politically correct, but I'm pretty sure I'm mature enough to handle this. Anyway, parodies are hardly ever politically correct. It's always designed to offend. So, yeah. Other examples. Oh, I really like this one, the IKEA book. Okay, you should watch this if you can. Okay, just YouTube search IKEA book. Okay, and you'll see it's actually quite funny. Okay, next is a satire. Satire is similar to irony and parody, but it is more serious. There's a more serious message to it. For instance, political cartoons, you see this in SS a lot. Okay, satire. Usually it is meant to make a point. Usually it is meant to mock someone or something. Okay, you will also see it in, let's say, literature such as Brave New World. That's also satire, for instance. Okay, moving on. Okay, tone versus attitude. This is super important. Both of them are the writers. Now, the only difference is that attitude is the writer's stance on the matter. How does he feel about it? What's his view of it? And then the tone is the manner in which he expresses this very stance. Okay, so please remember, they are not the same thing. Tone is influenced by attitude. Okay, so for instance, okay, the ripe aroma of the sweating students pervaded the classroom. Here the tone is definitely sarcastic because ripe aroma is usually used to refer to something delicious, something fragrant. Okay, and yet it's being used to describe sweat. So you know it's sarcastic, and therefore you can infer that the attitude is that of disdain or disgust. Now, tone and attitude, the vocabulary goes way beyond that. So what I want you guys to do is read the vocabulary lists that our teachers have given you and educate yourself on more words for tone and attitude.